Hello and welcome to Mundial TV for all things FIFA and all things football. We're going to have fierce football analysis as we're taking you all through the history of the World Cup from 1930 till today. Now, if you had been watching previous episodes, there would have been a question that was posed to you guys. What was the name of the ball that was used in the 2010 World Cup, which was held in South Africa? What was the name of the 2010 World Cup ball? You can still put in your answers by following us on Twitter at WorldSportsMax, sending us an email at mundialtv@m10africa.com, or going to Facebook, World Sports Max. Now, on to the matter of the day, which is continuing our history of Africa's journey throughout the years in football. And we're looking at the 20th to the 21st century. How have we been doing? Are we doing all right? Where have we come from? And do we know where we're going? To talk about this subject with me are our pitch pundits for today, the two Wales that I have with me. Wale Adekoya. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And, of course, Wale Scott.
Good to be here, as usual.
No stranger to the game.
Very
no
true.
stranger to the game. So we're going on. Africa has been doing quite well, or so we thought. Throughout the years, we had decided that we had become bold enough to make strong statements in football. And not only that, because there had been quite a few of us who were playing in European club sides. So underrating an African team was an exercise in suicide. That statement was made even stronger by Senegal in the 2002 World Cup, who took on the powerhouse, France. And it wasn't breakfast for them. Take a look at that match. Welcome back from that piece of history. Gentlemen, Senegal and France. Was that a match or was that a match?
I'm going to use your words, really. Underrating Africa at that level, at that point, will be suicidal. Because now Africans realized at the point that all flair was not African football. Okay. All skill was not African football. We had to use our strength. We're built to fight. We're built like warriors. And Senegal realized that, listen, France had the flair. For example, the highest goal scorer in the English Premier League then, Thierry Henry, was in that team. David Trezeguet was the highest goal scorer in the Italian Serie A, and he was in that team. And it was tough for you to play players like that. These are guys that you hear about day in, day out. They are scoring goals day in, day out. And it's hard for you to hold on to them. Thierry Henry was slick. He was like a snake, and you had to use strength, brute strength, to take care of him. And that's what Senegal did.
So was that Africa's style, strength?
Well, Africa's style has always come to fore when it comes to our strength. Using Cameroon as an example, they got this designer who got them a sleeveless jersey for the World Cup, and the coach insisted that they all go to the gym and get their chests up, you know. And you can imagine 11 men standing there against you, looking like Incredible Hulk. You know, and that's what Senegal did. Senegal realized that for flair, it was France. For skill, it was France. For structure and learning process in football, it definitely was France. Good to say that some of the Senegalese were playing abroad. Yes, I knew these players. But all they had going for them in Africa was their brute strength. And that's all they had. And they used it. And it worked.
Oh, well, there is no doubt that 2002 World Cup indeed was a turning point for Africa. You know, all along, when we go over there, our player, they see the World Cup as a place, you know, something happening in a foreign land where they will go and watch how the big guys are doing it.
Yeah.
But something happened then. We realized that indeed this is who we are, and we began to play to our strength. What you call capacity utilization, you know, began to come in. We know that as black people, we are black, indeed we are big. Strength, agility are the natural endowment that we've been given. And for once, we played to our strengths. Don't forget that in the 80s and late 70s, the North Africans will go to the World Cup and begin to play like the white guys. Don't forget, what you don't have, you can't give, and you can't be better than the master in the game. I'm happy what happened in 2002. Senegal came. Before that match, lots of, you know, issues came up. You're talking about the master, pardon my language, versus the slave. You won't forget that it was France who actually colonized Senegal. They taught them how to play football. The kids, even the symbol, it was all courtesy France. Now you are missing the same country at the biggest stage of world football. And then what happened that day? The X factor was what worked for Senegal, and the likes of Alhaji Diouf did what a superstar should do.
Senegal, showing their skill, went on to finish second in their group after a 0-0 draw with Denmark and a 3-3 draw with Uruguay. Now, they went on to equal Cameroon's record of a quarter-final appearance following a 2-1 golden goal victory over Sweden. But they themselves were on the receiving end of a golden goal in their quarter-final game against Turkey. Now, the substitute Ilian Manses sealed the fate of the Senegalese. Let's have a look at that match. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Mundial TV. Even before kicking a single ball, Africa created the record of the continent with the most newcomers coming into a tournament at the 2006 World Cup, held for the second time in Germany. Now, out of the 5 Tunisia was the only country that had previous World Cup experience. Angola, Togo, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire were just making their debut for the first time at the Mundial. Now, some of them, like Togo and Angola, had more in terms of enthusiasm and energy than they had in technical skill. Now, let's take a look at the match between Togo and South Korea and that of Angola and Iran. So, talking about enthusiasm, talking about energy, Wale Adekoya, what did you think of those matches?
Believe me, I cannot forget the fact that for once I see my people competing at the biggest stage and doing it so well. Enthusiasm, fantastic. Team spirit and unity was what actually kept Africa. You remember before that tournament, lots of pundits were saying that, hey, there has been a tsunami in Africa because so many first-timers were there. We've always known the Ghanaians that they were right for that tournament, and when they got there, they did not disappoint anybody. So across the entire tournament, they did so well. And one other thing is that the goalkeeping side, you see, a team is made up of quite a number of departments. A lot of people want to concentrate on the midfielders. That might not be our strength here, but the African representative at that particular tournament, they did so well by making use of the flanks and defending very well. Don't forget, football is not only about going forward. It's only your ability to use your strength to get your own result that determines how well you do. And at the end of the day, nobody will believe that we have 4 debutants in that tournament because they went, they saw, and they nearly conquered.
Well, the good thing is that a large amount of the Togolese national team in their debut in the World Cup were worked on by our very own Stephen Keshi.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's a good thing for us.
In
and
a year we couldn't qualify.
It shows the depth of an African man. It shows what an African can do. The era of he must be a white guy, he must be an European to be an African foreign coach is gone. Our guys can't do it too. They might not have the grade A certificates, they might not have the grade B certificates to coach any team, but they've got what they can do. They are former footballers. They know how it works in Africa. And most of the world, people across the globe, continuously consoled themselves with the fact that for debutants, they will not make it happen. They will not make anything work at the World Cup. Yeah. These guys have not been here before, and these guys went there without an inferiority complex. They expected that, but they didn't go with it. They went to the superiority complex, the African king complex, as in, we're going to be here. We might not win the World Cup, but we'll make a difference. We'll make
the Africans are coming.
We came here and we came.
And we showed up in style.
And you can remember the advert of Ghana when they were hosting the Nations Cup, when Asamoah Gyan said, the kid runs to him and says, they are coming, and he says, let them come. And they came, and they made the difference with it, and you can't be but proud if you're African, because the days of the inferiority complex was gone. You are France, Leblanc, you are the German machine, Mannschaft. We're not scared of you. Even if we don't win, we'll give up a good fight. People will clap and say, at least they did well.
So you would say that 2006 was more or less the time that we showed up and made the most impact, regardless of what had happened prior to.
I think Africans had been doing it sparingly. We've been making a difference, as in countries are beginning to take us seriously. If an European country like France, Italy, or Germany was to take on any African country, even if it was Cape Verde, you would take it seriously, because now the Africans will spring a surprise. The good thing, or the bad thing, about the Africans then was that 11 players on the field of play, 6 play abroad. The remaining, you have no idea
of what they can
do, because you've never watched their match before. And I was telling someone recently, I was saying, I am very sure if the Ivorian coach during the Nations Cup was going to write a list of possible problems, he would never have put Sunday in that shit. And that's the guy that scored the second goal. So they have no idea what these guys can do. The guys in Europe, yes, they have films about them. They've got what they've done before. But the other guys who play in their country, you have nothing on them. And it's not easy fighting an invisible enemy. You can't win, really.
So, despite the fact that it wasn't Africans were an unknown quantity, even like Ghana. Now, Ghana, who like the Egyptian pharaohs had continental dominance, which they failed to translate onto the global scale. Now, they were the only African team standing at that point in time. They had recovered to an opening day loss of 2-0 to the eventual champions, Italy. Now, they went on to record victories over highly rated teams like the USA and the Czech Republic. Now, having been thrown onto the Brazilian propellers, however, the dream came to an end there and they were eliminated 3-0. Let's have a look at that match. Now, okay, guys, now that match, after, getting somewhere, was that fine or was that a flop?
The Ghanaians made a mistake. The Brazilians play a style called samba. Right. It's a tiki-taka kind of style. They pass to each other. And fortunately or unfortunately, the African teams, like you rightly said, were actually trying to evolve their football. So every country was trying to pick a particular country and a particular style of play. Fortunately or unfortunately, the Ghanaian style was actually evolving towards the Samba kind of style. They were going away from strength and trying to play tiki-taka like the Brazilians. Unfortunately, you get to meet Brazil in the World Cup. You've got players like Neo Datilante, you've got players like Abedi Pele, who've got the kind of skills that Brazilians have. But playing against Brazil, you can't beat them at Samba. So why not go back to the strength that we used to use, the African strength that we used to use. I saw Ghana trying to play like Brazil. You can't play Brazil like Brazil and try and win. It's impossible.
So Wale Adekoya, do you think that was Ghana's undoing at that point in time?
Absolutely spot on. You can't be the master
At their
this
game. Nah.
Look at it. Don't forget that usually the Ghanaians are called the African Brazil, the Samba guys. And philosophically, if you look at the fundamentals of what makes up the Samba style of football, you know, you have the Paladana. These guys were born into it. Paladana is when a footballer, you hold the ball, okay, and you just flow, you walk along with the ball. You have the elasticity where it's as if something is gluing the football to the feet of the player. And the sombrento, what you call your leg over, these guys were born and bred, it's a way of life for them. As a matter of fact, Ronaldinho once said that those moves were actually dance steps. Now you have met a team who originated, who perfected, and exported these skills to the world. You now made the cardinal mistake of attempting
to play them
to
at their
play
own,
them
to
at their
beat
own
them
game.
at their own game.
It was scandalous. I was so disappointed because I expected that the Ghanaians would just say, hey, come, we can't, to play Brazil, close up the spaces. You just need to close these spaces. Once they can have the opportunity to do all the wonders with the football, definitely you can then play your game. But they failed to do that, and I'm sure they learned a big-time lesson at the end of the World Cup.
Okay, so going on with Africa's journey, some of it good, some of it not so good throughout the years. 1930s all the way to the noughties. This has been Mundial TV, and we're going to take a short break right now. We'll be right back after this.
Feel the intensity of football's greatest showpiece, the 20th edition of the FIFA World Cup in Brazil. Look no further than Mundial TV, showing live on this station. For sponsorship and advert placement, please call 080-6036-4384 or 081-8808-5881. You can also email us at mundialtv@worldsportsmax.com or fybankole@yahoo.com. For showtimes, highlights, and updates, join the conversation on Twitter or hang out with us on Google+. Mundial TV. Feel the game.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Mundial TV for all things FIFA and all things World Cup. Now, we have been on a journey to the past of the World Cup, the history of the World Cup to be specific, and we've been looking at Africa's place in that history. Now, 2010 was supposed to be the year of Africa. The year before that, Ghana had just won the Under-21 World Cup, the first African team to have ever done so. Also, South Africa had just hosted the FIFA Confederations Cup, which is like a dress rehearsal for the real thing, if you like, the World Cup itself. Now, Seth Blatter's run FIFA had been resisting the noise from Africa bashers everywhere to host a World Cup tournament somewhere else. And they had also granted an additional spot on the 32 teams finals as Nigeria, Cameroon, Algeria, Ghana, and Cote d'Ivoire joined the host South Africa in the tournament. Now, if Africans had thought that hosting the Mundial on Mother Africa's soil would give us an extraordinary advantage over the visitors, They were wrong. Sadly, they were wrong because all the teams except one, which is Ghana's Black Stars, fell like 9 pins in the first round. Now, unfortunately, South Africa, being the host, had the dubious honor of becoming the first host nation to fail to qualify into the next round in the tournament's 70-year history. Now, this was despite a scintillating performance in the game against Mexico by Sifiwe Shabalala, a right winger, and he had scored one of the most memorable goals of the tournament. Have a look. Welcome back. If you're joining us, still here with me are Wale Adekoya and Scott, respectively. So, South Africa's performance as hosts and as players at the 2010 World Cup.
My experience, really, I was in London a few years ago, and I met a young lady who obviously was illiterate, you know, because she came to me and said, "Heard you're Nigerian." And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Do you guys still live in trees?" And bringing the World Cup to Africa was wonderful. At least people now know that we don't live in trees, because there are people out there who still actually believe that Africa is just a jungle out there, surprisingly. You know, so that was a good thing for us. Coming to South Africa, yes. If you're looking for structure, modern structure across Africa, South Africa, yes. But looking for football in the real sense of it, South Africans are not built for football. They're built for cricket, golf, or whatever else, except for football. I think you can count the amount of skillful footballers who have come out of South Africa, really. And the only thing they have in football in South Africa now, really, is Shabalala, the dreadlocked maestro. That's all we have. You know, and so taking football to South Africa, okay, might have been cool based on structure, but based on a footballing country. I am very sure if it was in Nigeria or Ghana, that disgrace won't be there.
You think the outcome would have been different?
Would have been much better, because South Africa were out. That's the first host nation ever to get out of the World Cup in the first round. They are not built for football. If Nigeria plays South Africa tomorrow, I'm sure of a win. I only ask what was the scoreline.
You know,
yeah. I'll be asking what was the scores. I won't say did we win. I know we'll win. You know, so they are built for cricket and rugby and all that. Definitely not football. And what was good for Africa, it came here.
Good exposure.
Yes, it's giving us a difference. You know, the Europeans think of Africa and they think of corruption. They think of war. They think of
disorganization.
So that, and yes, we're organized. We brought the world to us and we made them see, and they saw. And it's giving Africa a much different perspective from Europeans. You'd be surprised at how many Europeans still think we live in jungles, really. So it's a good thing for us, really.
I can't help but laugh at that. You know.
You'd been saying earlier that the 2010 World Cup held in South Africa was one of the most successful tournaments
Yeah,
ever.
absolutely. The 2010 World Cup, in terms of attendance, was about the second biggest, and in terms of revenue, FIFA till today still remains grateful to South Africa and Africa for that wonderful feat, because the revenue, the returns was instantaneous. Things went perfectly, and I think that edition had been rated the second best ever after the USA 94 World Cup. Of course, you can't take it away from the Americans with the population and what have you. But one thing
They know how to put on the show.
Oh,
No
come
doubt.
on. You talk about a fizzy, they give it to you. But I think on the field, the players themselves made a mistake. They forgot to separate entertainment from the physical football on the pitch. The whole nation was jubilant. They were grateful, excitement all over the places, and thinking about hosting more than even playing the game. And then even if you look at the name of the guy who's been doing all the magic, Shabalala. Did you remember that goal? The way it was even celebrated, the commentator, the pronunciation, and so many things. You know, it was carnival-like. I was proud to be a black man on that particular day because things went smoothly. And don't forget the Nelson Mandela factor now.
Blessed memory. You know, things were just in place. For once, we could say that the World Cup is not only an event that we as black people will go to a foreign land, like going on a pilgrimage to watch. We saw that we can actually ask the rest of the world to come over and participate. And like he said, it was a fantastic advertisement for the black people. In South Africa, I once said, and I got a lot of slack from South African journalists and my friend Mulambo. I said South African national team spent more time learning to dance their victory dance, their goal dance, than actually play on the field of play. The dance was super, really. Learning how to celebrate the goal than learning how to score the goal.
Scoring the goals
It was a big issue there. I just mentioned this jokingly, and you can South African journalists were like, it was a big issue. That guy just said.
You know what? This is the World Cup that we're talking about. Emotions get high.
Yeah. And I was just checking, I was saying, because they scored that goal and the jubilation was super. And I was like, you guys did very badly, but you obviously spent more time celebrating how to celebrate your goal.
Well, I guess that's part of the African spirit, isn't it? To celebrate.
Yes, well, South Africa, I think South Africa were mesmerized by the fact that it was coming to South Africa, the World Cup was coming to South Africa.
Which is a big deal.
And they spent more time trying to be accommodating. They spent more time trying to make South Africa look cool for the African continent than
they extended
our hospitality to the pitch. You know, and I think that's what happened. I couldn't see the bite, the hunger in their game. All I could see was passion and excitement. And when as a footballer, it's all about passion and excitement. In modern football, in 21st century football, I think you're not going to get it right. And that was how it happened.
Now, the team that had more bite than the South Africans and a bit more serious about getting further ahead in the tournament was Ghana, who stormed to the quarterfinals, equaling Senegal's and Cameroon's feats in 1990 and 2002 respectively, after a heartwarming victory over the USA 2-1. Take a look. welcome back. Now, however, they fell victim to Africa's perennial quarterfinal jinx in their game against Uruguay. Now, having taken the lead through Salimentari's low strike in the first half, the Black Stars saw their lead cancelled by Diego Forlan. What followed after that, especially in the extra time theatrics and eventual penalty shootout, was a study in high-octane drama and eventual heartbreak. The sight of the ball sailing into that Johannesburg night is one that Africans everywhere would still like to forget.
Oh, wow, Najita. That match alone brings a memory.
About to cry.
No, it goes beyond that. One man, just one man, Luis Suarez, will not forget him in a hurry. You know what he did? He masterminded the exits of Africa from the tournament because the game was for Ghana to win. The way that guy scored the goal, only a fantastic footballer can do. And how did Ghana react to it? You called it theatrics, and I think that's the best way to report. And Najite, when that penalty was lost by Asamoah Gyan, I think a black cover, a dark cloud enveloped the entire continent of Africa. Hearts were broken, excitement turned to sorrow, and a jubilant continent became, was turning to
A continent in mourning?
a mourning. I mourned that loss because it was a golden opportunity for the continent to break that jinx of not going beyond the quarterfinal.
Sorry to cut you. Wale Scott, do you think there is a jinx in terms of quarterfinals?
I don't think so. I think Africans must learn to realize that when you get to the quarterfinals of the almighty World Cup, everything comes to play.
Yeah.
Everything comes to play. Mischief, cheating, everything comes to play. You mean positive cheating? Yeah, it doesn't stop on the field of play anymore.
How much of this actually involves actual football playing? Because you've been talking
No,
about
of course football is being played for 90 minutes, no doubt about it. But Africans must learn to realize that we can actually see it.
Yes.
We're at the quarterfinals. Next thing in semi-finals, we only have 2 more matches to go.
So focus.
Let me use a word for it, and please don't quote me anywhere else. They should learn to dig deep, the way other teams dig deep. Yeah. I think that's more. Let me use that word. Digging deep. They should learn to dig deep more often.
We have been digging deep into the history of the World Cup and Africa's journey, and we'll be right back with a whole lot more. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Mundial TV, and we have been on a very interesting journey through the history of the World Cup and the history of Africa's journey through the World Cup. A whole decade after the 21st century has gone on its way, Africa's quest still continues. Now, will that quest be fulfilled in Brazil 2014, where everybody is going to be gathered there for this fantastic, brilliant, and wonderful game called soccer or football? Now, looking back, Africa has a lot to celebrate. From having to fight for just one automatic slot to the actual possibility of wresting the trophy from the South Americans or the Europeans' grip. Now, there are those who would say that it's about time that an African side won at the Mundial. But there are certain bottlenecks that have been in our way. Poor planning, naivete, a lack of preparedness, whether physical, mental, or psychological, and of course, the bureaucratic bottlenecks that are involved by officials in a region where football is still pretty much in the grip of governments and its agencies. Gentlemen?
Naivety, no.
No.
I disagree with that one now. Naivety, no. I think that, yes. To a large extent, most of the national teams are actually under the grip of the governments, really. In Europe, South America, in Africa, it's the same thing. Only clubs should not be under government's capacity, but basically most of the national teams are under the government. The government does fund them, except for the sponsors who will give them jerseys and all that. They are all somehow under the government. But like you rightly said, if you talk about our players being second-hand, if I want to use that word, I disagree with you. Yahya Toure is a world-class player. Kolo Toure is a world-class player. John Obi Mikel is a world-class player. But I think poor planning will be our problem. I think Africans should realize that, listen, like it or not, I've said this all my life, and I'm still going to continue to say it. The Europeans will do everything to stay on top in football. The Europeans they will dig deep to stay on top. And it goes beyond on the field of play.